Welcome back to Inside the Issues. I'm Jim Dunlap, along with my co-host Pat Hall, who's in heaven right now because I'm surrounded by Democrats, and I'm going to get beat up pretty bad here, but it's great to have two great guests with us today, Representative Scott Inman, the incoming Democrat floor leader in the House, and Senator J. Paul Gumm, who J. Paul and I go back many years, as well as with Pat too, and good friends and former colleagues, and thank you guys for joining us here today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, we really are. We know that last week of session's tough, and I'll just throw this right out. We had the governor on last week. He was very positive about the budget that he had negotiated with the Republican Speaker and the Republican President Pro Tem. Representative Inman, your caucus's views on the budget.
Well, we are, I don't want to say we're ecstatic about the budget because that would be an overstatement. We're not by any stretch of the imagination because most people, the people that we care about the most vulnerable folks in the state of Oklahoma are still taking some cuts. The good thing about the budget is it could have been a lot worse. Republican leadership in the Senate and the House were rolling out budget plans that would have cut education, would have cut mental health, would have cut other, the health care authority, 5, 6, 7% on top of the 7 or 8, 10, 14% they've already received over the last year. That would have been devastating to them. And so what the Senate Democrats and the House Democrats did is we dug our heels in, stood by the governor, and we said if certain conditions aren't met, we're going to slow this thing down because our job is to protect those folks. At the end of the day, they gave in, so we saw a small victory. They came from 7% to 3% basically on a lot of things, and a few got a little bit more better than that. But overall, we're pleased with the progress, but a little frustrated with the fact that we had solutions to close those budget gaps completely, and they didn't listen to us.
Senator Gumm, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at where we started this session and where we're going to end with the budget that gets signed into law, it's nothing short of a minor miracle, and I don't think that would have happened had we not exercised our role as the minority and say, we have a say in this, and we have enough votes to sustain vetoes when we choose to do so and to deny emergency clauses when we choose to do so. And budgets need emergencies, and so we used that ability. I think we used it effectively, and we brought this budget from really, I think, the dark ages maybe to the iron ages. It's not where we once were, but given the current economic environment, this is about as good as anybody in Oklahoma could have hoped for, and I think a lot of that responsibility rests with the two Democratic caucuses in the legislature.
Well, Senator Gumm, you mentioned it. This is the first time in state history that the Senate caucus has been in the minority. Do you believe you accomplished your goals as the Senate Democrats did for 2010 session?
I think certainly we accomplished a lot of those goals. The first responsibility of a minority, as you know, being a former minority leader, is to be relevant and to propose good ideas and to be a check on the majority. The worst thing in the world in government is if you have absolute power, because absolute power will corrupt absolutely, and neither party has monopoly on good ideas, and unfortunately neither party has monopoly on bad ideas. And so I think it's important for the minority party to stand up and tell the majority when it's wrong, encourage it when it's right, and when it's a little bit off track, try to move it back on track. And if you look at times in history when things have gone as far off the tracks as they can go, it's those times, whether it be federal government, state government, when one party has unfettered control of every apparatus of government. They're not responsible, they're not reactive, and nobody's watching. And so I think this new process that we've gone through has been very important, and I think allowed us to do some things that otherwise couldn't done had either party had complete and unfettered control.
Well, it appears to, and I'll go back to Representative Inman, it appears to, I think, Jim and myself, that your caucus, which is 39 members, is a little harder to keep organized, and it looks like as the waning days of the session were going on, that you all had some unity in there, and I even noticed something I hadn't in a long time. Most, if not all, your members were showing up to your caucus meetings. And for our viewers, a caucus is both the Democrats and the Republicans. They meet with their members of their party, and it's called a caucus in order to air complaints and get a strategy and get a game plan. So,
no, we did. What our caucus was desperately looking for was a game plan. We wanted a clear set of goals that we could go after. And rally behind, and we found that. We have our policy positions that we're going to stick to, and we're trying to find a way to demonstrate how Our position, we believe, is better than that of the House Republican leadership. Those happen to be on health care, they happen to be on education, they happen to be with mental health services, things like that, with the senior nutrition programs. And as the session went along, we were waiting basically for Republican leadership to show us their hand. Say, where do you really want to take this state? Our cards were already on the table. They knew we wanted to protect senior nutrition. They knew we wanted to protect rural economic programs. They knew we wanted to protect education, the nursing home industry. They knew all of that, and so we were hiding nothing. We were waiting for them, and they finally tipped their hand. When they did, they showed us that they wanted to cut all those programs by 6 or 7%, another 6 or 7% over what they'd already been cut. Once that was there, we rallied and said, we've got to find solutions that we can put them in a bad position where they've got to come our way. And at the end of the day, they did.
Do you think, though, and like Senator Gumm said, I'm going to leave this with you, Representative Inman, did you find the wedge issues that you think you need to find for Oklahomans to get Democrat votes in the fall elections?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a wedge issue because I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of the wedge politics where you hear the Republicans will run out with all of these issues that really have nothing to do with the everyday policy in Oklahoma. What we did is we basically put the Republican rhetoric up next to what the reality is. These folks for years have run on platforms. We just need to slash government, and we do need a concise, efficient government that doesn't waste money. But when they got to the Capitol on this platform of we're just going to slash government, they realized that 9 out of every $10 go to public safety, health care, education, and transportation. So they set back, and the reality was if they cut any of those programs, they're going to lose back home. Their constituents fundamentally believe in education, good roads and bridges, good health care, and they want state troopers on the roads. So they said, what can we do? There was nothing they could do to really back up their rhetoric. This year came, and here was the opportunity. The budget got tight. Their opportunity was, are you going to stand up and protect those programs, or are you going to slash them like you've been wanting to for the last 10 years? Push come to shove at the end, we stood up to protect them. They wanted to slash those programs. At the end of the day, they came to our side.
Well, let me ask Senator Gumm, we have just a couple of minutes before break, maybe a minute and a half. Rural Oklahoma, Bryan County, Johnson County, your district, you've always been a champion of rural Oklahoma. How did you fare during this last legislative session?
Could have been a lot worse. One of the original pieces of the budget puzzle was to do away with some tax credits that we use in rural Oklahoma to grow jobs and grow industry. We were able to deny them the emergency clause on that one initially, and that was very important because we had a deal going in Atoka, just outside of my district, part of my district as well. That county's a split county. That would have been a new industry that we attracted from Texas, that would have had in Atoka, Oklahoma, a $2 million annual payroll. That had that gone into effect immediately upon the governor's signature, would not have happened. It would have gone to Texas.
Wow.
So we were able to join hands with the House Democrats and Senate Democrats, and even a few Republicans, I think, were with us on this one, to deny that emergency clause. And it was kind of funny, the Senate President Pro Tem said, well, this was supposed to be the easy one. Well, it's not easy when you can look and see what it would really have done to a community, to the people who would have had those jobs and now will have those jobs, and then the money that gets funneled around the community. I think that's going to be the continuing battle we're going to see. Rural Oklahoma is oftentimes taken for granted by those of us up here in the metro area, and we're going to have to do a very strong and good job to advocate rural positions, because if rural Oklahoma fails, metro Oklahoma will falter as well.
I can't disagree with you. Some of the, as you called it, rhetoric, Representative Inman, and we're going to go to a short break here. I want to come back after the break and talk about it, is the revenue enhancers, the new word that came this year.
Cost recovery.
I would like cost recovery. I'd like to talk to you about, did the Republicans keep their pledge? And because there is no tax increase in this budget issue. So we'll be right back after a short break on Inside the Issues and let my good Democrat colleagues answer that question. We'll be right back.